Hey there, welcome to Med Management Made Easy. You know that sinking feeling when you look at your pill bottle and think, wait, did I take this today? Or maybe you've had that moment of panic at bedtime wondering, did I miss my heart medication this morning? I certainly have. In fact, just last month, my mom called me in tears saying, I forgot my pills again and I don't know which ones I missed. It was the third time that week and she was terrified about what might happen. That conversation changed everything for us. And it might just change everything for you or someone you love too. Let's be honest, managing medications isn't just a minor inconvenience. For millions of Americans, especially seniors, it's a daily challenge that can have serious consequences. I mean, my grandmother was on 7 different medications, 7. Each with different schedules, some with food, some without, some in the morning, others at night. It was like trying to solve a puzzle every single day, except the stakes were her health. And she's not alone. Research shows that about 50% of people don't take their medications as prescribed. That's half of all patients. And for older adults taking multiple medications, that number jumps even higher. We're talking about medications for heart conditions, diabetes, blood pressure, serious stuff that keeps people alive and well. But here's what really hit home for me. When my grandmother missed her blood pressure medication 3 days in a row, she ended up in the emergency room. The doctor looked at me and said this was completely preventable. Those words stuck with me. Completely preventable. And that's when I realized just how important medication management really is. So why do we forget to take our pills? It seems so simple, right? But our brains aren't wired to remember repetitive daily tasks perfectly, especially as we age. First, there's what psychologists call prospective memory, basically, remembering to remember. It's one of the first cognitive functions that begins to decline with age. That's not a judgment, it's just how our brains work. Then there's the routine disruption factor. Maybe you normally take your medication with breakfast, but today you had to rush out for an early appointment, so your whole morning routine was thrown off. Or perhaps you're traveling, or you have visitors, or you're just having an off day. Life happens. And let's not forget medication complexity. My grandmother's regimen included pills that needed to be taken, some with food, some on an empty stomach, some in the morning, some at night, some that couldn't be taken with certain foods, some that needed to be taken exactly 12 hours apart. It's a lot to keep track of, even for someone with a perfect memory. And when you add in things like changing prescriptions, generic substitutions that look different, or new medications being added to the mix, it's no wonder people get confused. This brings me to my grandmother Dorothy, we called her Dot, and the system she developed that changed everything. After her hospital scare, she was determined to never miss another dose. Now Grandma Dot wasn't a doctor or a nurse. She was a retired high school English teacher with a knack for organization and a stubborn streak a mile wide. I may be old, she used to say, but I'm not helpless. I just need a system that works for me, and that's exactly what she created. She called it her foolproof method, and I've got to tell you, it was pretty darn close to foolproof. The first thing she did was what she called a medication audit. She gathered every single prescription, vitamin, and supplement she was taking and created a master list. For each one, she wrote down the name of the medication, what it was for the dosage, exactly when to take it, any special instructions, what the pill looked like, and potential side effects to watch, for she kept one copy of this list in her purse, one on her refrigerator, and gave one to me. This became her medication Bible. Next came the physical organization. She invested in a large, high-quality pill organizer, not one of those flimsy plastic ones, but a sturdy one with large, easy-to-open compartments for each day of the week, with separate sections for morning, noon, evening, and bedtime. But here's where Grandma Dot's genius really shined through. She realized that the pill organizer alone wasn't enough. She needed triggers, reliable reminders that would become part of her routine. The secret, Grandma Dot told me, is to link your medications to things you already do without thinking. This concept of habit linking or habit stacking is actually backed by science. Our brains form neural pathways for routine activities, making them almost automatic. By connecting a new habit to an existing one, we leverage those established neural pathways. Grandma Dot's morning medications were placed right next to her coffee maker. She couldn't make her morning coffee without seeing them. Her evening medications were kept beside her toothbrush. These weren't random choices, they were strategic placements based on her existing habits. She also used what she called visual disruptions. For example, she would place her pill organizer on top of her car keys at night, so she literally couldn't leave the house the next morning without moving her medication. Another brilliant trick she developed was the upside-down method. After taking her pills each morning, she would turn that day's pill container upside down in the organizer. This created an unmistakable visual cue. If the container was still right side up by evening, she knew she'd missed her morning dose. And here's something interesting, she didn't rely solely on electronic reminders. Phones die, power goes out, but my routine is always with me, she'd say. That said, she did use one alarm on her phone as a backup, especially for medications that needed to be taken at specific times rather than just morning or evening. Now, even with the best organization system, there's still that moment of doubt. Did I actually take my pill this morning, or am I just remembering yesterday? This is where Grandma Dot's verification system came into play. She created what she called her Med Journal, a simple notebook where she would check off each medication immediately after taking it. But she added a twist. Next to each checkmark, she'd write down one thing she was grateful for that day. Sometimes it was as simple as the cardinal at my bird feeder or John called today. This served two purposes. It made the act of recording more meaningful than just a checkmark, and it created a unique memory for each day's medications. If I'm ever confused about whether I took my pills, she explained, I just look at what I wrote. If I can remember being thankful for that cardinal, then I know I took my medication when I wrote it down. This gratitude component might sound simple, but it was transformative. It turned a medical chore into a moment of reflection and positivity. And from a practical standpoint, it created distinct memories tied to each dose, reducing that did I or didn't I confusion. Even with the best system, we're all human. Grandma Dot knew this, so she created what she called her backup plan for those inevitable moments when something goes wrong. First, she made sure she understood the implications of missed doses for each medication. She asked her doctor questions like, what should I do if I miss a dose? Should I take it as soon as I remember or skip it? How dangerous is it if I accidentally double up? Which medications are most critical to never miss? She kept this information in her medication list, so she wasn't frantically searching the internet or calling the pharmacy in a moment of panic. Next, she designated a medication buddy. That was me. We had an agreement that I would call her every Sunday evening just to check in on how the medication routine was going. This regular check-in helped catch any potential problems before they became serious. She also kept a one-day emergency supply of her critical medications in her purse, in a clearly marked container. This was her insurance policy for those times when she might be away from home longer than expected. And perhaps most importantly, she wasn't afraid to use technology when it made sense. She set up automatic refills with her pharmacy and kept track of when prescriptions would run out. Running out of medication is just as bad as forgetting to take it, she'd remind me. What made Grandma Dot's system so effective wasn't just the organization, it was how personalized it was too. Her specific needs and lifestyle. For instance, she loved to garden, and during gardening season, her routine would change completely. So she created a special gardening day protocol where she'd take her midday medications outside with her in a special container. She also recognized her own limitations. Her arthritis made some pill bottles difficult to open, so she requested easy open caps from her pharmacy for medications that weren't dangerous to others in her home. When her vision started to decline, she used colored stickers in different sized containers to help differentiate medications. Red stickers for heart medications, blue for blood pressure, and so on. And she wasn't afraid to advocate for herself with her healthcare providers. When one doctor prescribed a medication that needed to be taken 4 times daily, she asked if there was an alternative with a simpler dosing schedule. Often there was. The lesson here is that the perfect medication system has to be designed around your life, your capabilities, and your specific challenges. What works for one person might not work for another. Over time, we refined Grandma Dot's system to address different scenarios that might be relevant to many of you listening. For people with memory impairments more serious than occasional forgetfulness, we added a timer cap that shows how long it's been since the bottle was last opened. This was particularly helpful for my uncle, who was in the early stages of dementia but wanted to maintain his independence. For those who travel frequently, we developed a travel version of the system using a smaller pill organizer and a condensed medication list that could easily fit in a suitcase or carry-on bag. For caregivers managing medications for loved ones, we created a transition system, a way to gradually shift responsibility in a way that maintained dignity while ensuring safety. This might start with setting up the pill organizer together, then moving to just checking it, and eventually to simple reminders. And for people managing medications for multiple family members, we developed a color-coded system where each person had their own color for all their medication supplies. The beauty of Grandma Dot's approach was its flexibility. The core principles could be adapted to virtually any situation or need. So what happened with Grandma Dot after she implemented her system? The immediate result was exactly what you'd expect. She stopped missing doses. Her medication adherence, as her doctor called it, went from problematic to nearly perfect. And her health improved accordingly. Her blood pressure stabilized, her symptoms decreased, and she had more energy. But there were unexpected benefits too. She reported feeling less anxious overall. I used to have this constant worry in the back of my mind about my pills, she told me. Now that worry is gone. I trust my system. She also found that the daily gratitude practice she'd incorporated into her medication routine had a positive effect on her outlook. Looking for something good each day, even on the hard days. It changes how you see the world, she said. Perhaps most significantly, she felt a renewed sense of control and independence. Managing her health effectively gave her confidence that extended to other areas of her life. She started taking more social outings, knowing she had her medication needs well in hand even when away from home. Her doctors noticed the difference too. At one appointment, her cardiologist actually asked her to explain her system so he could share it with other patients. I'm not just surviving with these conditions, she told me about 6 months after starting her system. I'm living well with them. There's a big difference. Grandma Dot lived to the remarkable age of 92, and in her later years, she often said that her medication system gave her those extra years of quality life. She passed away peacefully in her sleep, not from a medication error or a manageable health condition spiraling out of control, but simply from the fullness of years. Her legacy lives on not just in our family, but in the dozens of friends and even strangers she taught her system to. I still have the original handwritten notes she made when developing her foolproof method. So if you're struggling with medication management, whether for yourself or a loved one, remember that you're not alone. This is a challenge that millions face every day. But with the right system, one that's personalized to your specific needs and lifestyle, it's a challenge that can be overcome. Start small. Maybe begin with a medication audit like Grandma Dot did. Create that master list. Invest in a quality pill organizer. Identify your existing habits that could serve as medication triggers. Develop a verification system that works for you. And always have a backup plan. The peace of mind that comes from knowing you're taking your medications correctly is truly invaluable. Grandma Dot would say, good health doesn't happen by accident. It happens by having a good plan and sticking to it. If you found this helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to Med Management Made Easy for more practical health tips. And I'd love to hear your own medication management strategies in the comments below. We can all learn from each other. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the simplest systems make the biggest difference. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.